This video is an add-on to the instructions I provide with the bumper STL and Grieber files at cults3d.com. Before the bumper is assembled, the lighting and the tactile switch must be prepared. For the lighting, I use an LED bulb with an E10 socket. The socket is carefully removed from the bulb. The very thin connecting wires must not be torn off. To be on the safe side, the function of the LED should be checked afterwards. The thin wires must be bent straight and shortened for soldering them to connecting wires. The connecting wires are now soldered on. The soldering point and the very thin wire are protected with a shrink tube. The connecting wires are put into the gap in the bulb bracket and the bulb is glued into it. The connections of the tactile switch must be bent straight using pliers. Otherwise, it will not be possible to insert it into the bumper later. The connecting wires are then soldered on. The M3 threaded rods must be mounted on the kick ring. To do this, the M3 nut must be screwed onto the threaded rod the wrong way round. This should be done so that when the threaded rod is pushed through the kick ring there is enough space for another M3 nut. The kick ring is properly deburred. The threaded rod is then pushed through the kick ring and screwed onto it. The upper body is inserted into the ring and moved up and down while simultaneously twisting against each other in different directions. This grinds them in. The connecting wires of the tactile switch are now pushed through the corresponding holes in the lower body. The tactile switch is then inserted into the body. A 3 mm multi-material screw is screwed into the underside of the lower body until it touches the tactile switch. The switch plate is placed on the lower body. It is important to ensure that it is correctly aligned. Then the upper body is placed on top in the same way and screwed to the lower body with 4 screws. The tactile switch is now carefully aligned with the switch plate using the screw that was previously screwed into the lower body. The switch plate must slightly pressed against the upper body. The previously assembled parts are inserted into the mounting frame. The groove for the threaded rods must be in line with the mounting holes of the mounting frame, which run parallel to the back of the frame. This solenoid spring is compressed too much and therefore needs to be pulled apart a little. The solenoid rod bracket is screwed to the solenoid rod with a long M3 screw and nut. The solenoid is screwed onto the mounting frame with two M4 screws and nuts. The kick ring is put back on the body. The threaded rods must be put through the solenoid rod bracket and the top cap is screwed on. Now 4 pieces of 3 mm multi-material screws are screwed into the mounting frame. These must not fix the lower body in the frame at this time. The bumper must now be adjusted to the thickness of the playfield. To do this, a caliper is set to the playfield thickness plus 2 mm. The distance between the bottom of the switch plate and the mounting frame is set to this dimension. Since the distance is set, 2 of the 4 fixing screws are screwed in further to fix the body in the frame. To mark the position of the required M3 nuts, the kick ring and the solenoid rod are pressed into the uppermost position and marked on the threaded rod with a waterproof pen. The top cap and the kick ring are removed again. 2 pieces M3 screws are screwed upside down onto the threaded rods up to the mark. In the final position of the nut, the bottom of the nut must match with the bottom of the mark. The kick ring and the top cap are reassembled. The kick ring and the solenoid rod are pushed back to the top position. The M3 nuts are now adjusted so that they touch the solenoid rod bracket, but do not push it towards the solenoid. Now another two pieces of M3 nuts with washers are screwed tightly onto the threaded rods. The bulb prepared at the beginning is now inserted into the upper body. The connecting wires are threaded into the hole in the body that is closer to the back of the mounting frame and the mounting frame itself. Glue is applied and the bulb is pressed into the central hole at the bottom of the upper body. The spring pin is screwed onto the M3 screw of the solenoid rod bracket. Since I haven't been able to find any suitable ready-made springs to buy recently, I ordered a very long spring with the right dimensions and tensile force from a specialized local company. The steel wire of the spring should have a diameter between 0.35 and 0.40 mm, the spring diameter between 8 and 10 mm. I bend and cut this spring until it fits. Now the assembled circuit board is mounted. For this purpose, insulating washers are used on both sides and two pieces of M4 nuts. All wires are cut to size and prepared. The wires of the solenoid are screwed to the terminals marked SOL. The wires of the tactile switch are screwed to the terminals marked SW. The wires of the light bulb are screwed to the terminals marked L1- and L1+. For testing, I connect an LED to the terminals L2- and L2+. Now the thermostat switch is attached to the solenoid coil using the thermostat switch bracket, 2 cable ties and sufficient thermal paste. The wires of the thermostat switch are screwed to the terminals marked TS. Power supply wires which are suitable for at least 4 amps are connected to the circuit board, since the fuse on this board is 4 amps slow blow. Basically the bumper is now finished, but it still needs to be tested for functionality. The bumper can be activated using the onboard button or the switch plate. The circuit prevents the solenoid from being activated for too long, even if the switch plate is active for a longer period of time. It protects the solenoid from overheating. Here the LED is activated with 5 volt which is applied to the terminal I.L2. Here the bumper is activated with 5 volt which is applied to the terminal I.BUM. An oscilloscope is used to check whether 5 volts are output at the O.HIT terminal when the bumper is activated. This bumper works and can be used in a pinball machine. Thanks for watching.